because I am quite excited to introduce you. The heck, is that a bee? I am wearing the wrong color today, huh? Queen bee, literally. Anyway. Hi everyone, it's Melissa, your plantita abogada from Tasteful Nodes, coming to you today with a long overdue video. This is the video of the Gloriosum versus the Glorious. So if you remember from my birthday surprise unboxing video, this was the video that I was trying to record at that time. Granted, I have no regrets, but yeah, this one is long overdue. I've been wanting to do this one for a while, so I'm glad you decided to join me today. Let me go ahead and get my disclaimers out of the way, okay? One, as you guys know, KKB tayo, kanya-kanyang bayad, meaning for the Westerner friends, it means that we each pay our own way. If you see something here that interests you and you decide to pay your rent money for it, don't blame me and don't come after me, okay? Just playing, maybe. Number two, I'm not to be considered an expert. I am a JD. I'm not a botanist or horticulturalist by any means. I just like to read a lot, and I read in the right areas, I guess. So if the experts are saying it, it's something that I'll stand with and I'll stand by, and I hold as gospel truth, okay? I am more than happy to share that information with you. Number three, go ahead and get a second opinion about all my personal experience stuff. As far as factual information is concerned, I'll put that information at the bottom of the screen, and I'll also include it in the description of this video down below. However, my personal experiences are colored by things like my growing conditions, the weather here, pricing of plants, stuff like that. So what may work for me may not work for you, and I would really, really want your plants to be successful. So if you can just find out from people around you, find out from people in your community how these things work in your area, that would be fantastic. Now, I'm glad we got that out of the way. I would like to go ahead and introduce you to our two topics, or the focus, the stars of this episode, right? That would be the Philodendron Gloriosum. It would be these guys right here, and this pot, and the Philodendron Glorious, this big boy right here. So things that they have in common, they both have heart-shaped green leaves. They're both endemic to Colombia. They have similar veining patterns, I guess. Yeah, similar veining patterns, right? They also have similar coloration, but keep an asterisk right beside that because I have a little bit more to elaborate on that point. And I will stop there because granted, they're both philodendrons. One is a species, it would be the Philodendron Gloriosum. The other one would be a hybrid, right? So that's the first difference. So one day, someone decided that he wanted to introduce Gloriosum to Philodendron melanochrysum, right? And melanochrysum is this gorgeous dark-leafed, long philodendron. It's also known as Philodendron black gold for a reason. Just beautiful, dark, long leaves. And those two met, I guess did whatever plants do, and had a baby. And yes, it is Philodendron Glorious. So Philodendron Glorious is a hybrid of Philodendron Gloriosum and Philodendron melanochrysum, right? So that's difference number one. Difference number two lies with, I guess I would say, the petioles of these guys. So with Philodendron Gloriosum, the petioles tend to be flat on top. I'll go ahead and get a closer video for you, right? So they're flatter on top and then they're round on the bottom. So it gives you this D-shaped feeling when you touch it. I mean, it's very, very obvious right on top. And then for Philodendron Glorious, it's oval shaped or round. I mean, there's no ridges that make that line on top for that D-shaped petiole from the Gloriosum. And I'll go ahead and include pictures of both of them for you. Another thing that they would have as far as differences are concerned, I guess would be the coloration. So remember when I said that Glorious is a hybrid? Well, Glorious also takes some of its color from the melanochrysum. The melanochrysum is a darker leafed philodendron, and while there is a Philodendron Gloriosum dark form, it's not quite as dark as the melanochrysum. It's not as dark as the melanochrysum, but it's also darker than the Gloriosum. So I would say that what the Glorious also got from its other parent would be its coloration. Now, talking about leaves, right? You've got a little bit of the length of melanochrysum in Glorious as well, where Gloriosum seems to be a little bit better balanced in terms of width and height. The Glorious tends to be a little longer in leaf, so longer rather than wider. Another difference, I guess, would also be the coloration of the veins. So the coloration of veins for new leaves of the Glorious typically tend to be on the pinker side. So let's go ahead and raise this up. Yay. Oh, yes. So pink, right? But the Glorious never has that pink back when it's unfurling new leaves. You know, it's always green. Also, finally, I guess this is a big difference between the two of them, is that true to its melanochrysum roots, to its melanochrysum parent, right? The Glorious can be trained to climb, right? So the melanochrysum, it's only happy if you let it climb. And I just found that out last year. You know, it used to make me melanocry. Now we're friends. So the melanochrysum, ever since I gave it its own tree, has been climbing that thing and producing more leaves and being generally happy, even during the summer when it was super hot. The Glorious gets that characteristic from the melanochrysum. You can train it to grow upward. In fact, it tends to just grow upward. It's this guy right here. It's a little clumsy in that if you don't give it support, it'll grow up, then it'll fall down and just go further and find a way up. So it's a wasp. Queen wasp today. Whereas the Gloriosum does not give that characteristic to the Glorious. The Gloriosum is a creeper, and not it's a creeper in a botanical sense. It's not a creeper in terms of like a person sneaking behind walls and watching you from behind walls or bushes. No, a Gloriosum actually will creep out of its pot. Let me show you this guy. I don't want to damage him, but please don't judge. I need to repot him, but I've got so many plants. Last count was like 911 or 17, and I haven't repotted all of them. So yeah, need to repot this guy, but this is a prime example of what I'm talking about. Gloriosum are creepers. So you give it a round pot, eventually when it gets too big, it'll go over the pot, right here, right? And then it'll find the ground, it'll find soil, and it will just root itself there and move on its happy little way, right? So I've seen a house or a picture of a house in my area. The owner decided to go ahead and plant Gloriosum in the front, underneath their front window, and it looks amazing. So if you got the space and you want some pretty plants and you've got the right climate for it for year-round purposes, by all means, Gloriosum is a great plant to have in the front. Now, I would go ahead and go into care tips really quick for both of these guys because they're pretty similar, right? Because the Gloriosum is a creeper, it's generally found on forest floors, meaning it is used to dappled light or indirect sunlight. You want that. You want to go ahead and continue that for your Gloriosum inside the house. The same thing can be applied to this guy, just because if you don't give it the proper, I guess, support to climb, even in the wild, it will end up on the forest floor. So indirect bright sunlight or dappled sunlight will work out well for this guy. So that's the range, right? That wasp really likes me today. I'm gonna hurry up and finish this. So we dealt with lighting. Number 2, potting media. So as scramblers, these guys are used to whatever's on the ground. And like I said about that one house here, she didn't do anything special to her soil. So technically you can do something like that and just, garden soil, but they are when it comes down to it, aeroids, and they would do best in aeroid mix. You know, chunkier mixes, things that would allow aeration of the roots. So yeah, I would go ahead and suggest whatever chunky mixes you have that include like a wood, bark, coconut cubes, humus or perlite, horticultural charcoal, or carbonized rice hull. Rice hull here in the Philippines, it's a great additive. So a general aeroid mix would be great for these guys. And it should be well draining. And that'll lead me to my third care tip for these guys. You do not want to drown these plants. They don't do well with drowning. In fact, my Glorious right over here, let me grab a handful of the potting media so you can see what I'm talking about, okay? Okay. So this is my Glorious's potting media. We've got pumice of different sizes. We have some horticultural charcoal here. We have some coconut cubes, and it looks like vermicast. Can't tell you for sure because I haven't repotted this guy forever. But those are my usual ingredients. I don't see rice hull, but I'm sure it can be used. All of that stuff is pretty well draining except for the vermicast. And that's a really important thing. These guys don't like their roots sitting in water. Keep your potting mix well draining, and for that matter, do not overwater your plants, right? And what you want to do is water only when the top, maybe 2 inches of your potting mix is dry. Then by all means water thoroughly until the water drains out at the bottom, and then don't water them again until you do your finger test and you know the top part of your media is dry. Eventually you'll get used to that and you'll get a little bit of a schedule, but do be careful when you have a change in seasons. Like we're going to the rainy season now, so it's not going to be as hot, and I'm not going to need to water every single day. So if you're unsure about how your watering is affected by the change of seasons in your area, I would suggest doing the finger test, right? Checking your potting media out at the change of seasons so that you know how often you need to water, right? So that's number 3. So we went over lighting, we went over potting media, we went over watering. Fertilizer. I use a slow release fertilizer like Nutricoat, Osmocoat, Maxicoat, that kind of stuff. And I use HB 101, which is a soil conditioner, once a week. Again, that's only for watering though. That's only for when I water. And that's the only things that I put in here aside from the vermicast. So that's the only place that they would get extra nutrients from, right? They're generally easy plants to care for. They are prone to burns. What else do we have? Propagation. Easy. So the reason, sorry wasp, I'm filming. So the reason I have so many Gloriosum is because my dear husband decided to buy Gloriosum when everything was locked down, right? We were here at home. He stress buys plants. I have no problem with that. However, I did have a problem with him buying, $10 worth, I think it was, of Philodendron Gloriosum wet sticks. And when they came, so it's 500 pesos is the exchange rate, right? And when they came, I think there were like 20 wet sticks, wet chunks. They weren't even sticks, right? These things were thick. And there were like 20 of them, all rootless, all just there. And yeah, so these are those babies. These are what came from that. Gloriosum are easy to grow from wet sticks. Keep them nice and warm. You could either put them straight into soil and then keep them nice and warm, or you could put them in like a little, we call it ICU, but I guess it would be a propagation Tupperware, propagation station, whatever. But yeah, so keep it in a container with some damp sphagnum moss, right? Moist. We don't want it drowning wet. And then keep it warm. Roots will grow. These things are easy. The Melanochrysum baby, the Glorious. Now this guy, since he is a scrambler, he's almost like this one in terms of once he finds ground, he will attach himself. But unlike this guy, and more like the Melanochrysum, he puts out lots of aerial roots, and those aerial roots will keep going down. At least that's what I found, and that's how I've propagated in the past for friends. Is I've noticed that not this guy, I have another one over there. But I noticed that he is getting a little long, and then I see those really, really long aerial roots, like about this long, that are already in the ground, right? So they hit the ground, they're already in there. I dig up a few of the aerial roots and I cut that node, and I go ahead and gift the cutting to a friend. And that's what I've done twice. Super easy. So I guess it would be a type of layering that I would do. If you're lazy like me, you could do it that way, or you could just get a little pot full of soil, whatever your media is, stick those aerial roots right next to it, or into it, right? Put the pot next to the plant, put those aerial roots in, and let it go. And it will go. These are both very easy plants. I would absolutely recommend them as starter plants for people. What else? So I went through lighting, I went through potting media, water, fertilizing, and propagation. And I think that's it. Yeah. Really? If I didn't answer anything that you were looking for in this video, please comment it down below. I try my best to answer comments at least once a week. So go ahead and leave me a comment down below with your question and I'll get right to it, I promise. If this helped you in any way, give this video a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you can get notifications of future episodes as well. Yeah, check me out on Facebook. I'm pretty active there as well. I'm there as Tasteful Nodes. And for pretty pictures, I'm on Instagram, Tasteful Nodes. Okay, until next time, sa uulitin guys, keep your nodes classy and tasteful. Bye.